Listening, highlight correct summary, guided practice. Let's begin. Question number 1. You will hear an audio and you have to pick the option that best represents the summary. There is a little bit of time before the audio starts playing, and by now you know that you have to use that time, and you can use that time by quickly skimming through the summaries so that you get some idea about what the audio may be about. Let's start.
I assure you people have done much more careful calculations, and it comes out with the same answer, which is that you have to put chalk up at a rate of about 10 teragrams a year to undo the effects of the CO2 that we've already done, just in terms of temperature, not all the effects, but the temperature. So, what does that look like? I can't visualize 10 teragrams per year. So I asked the Cambridge Fire Department and Taylor Millsall to lend me a hand. And this is a hose pumping water at 10 teragrams a year. And that is how much you would have to pump into the stratosphere to cool the Earth back down to pre-industrial levels. It's amazingly little. It's like one hose for the entire Earth. Now, of course, you wouldn't really use a hose. You'd fly it up in airplanes or something like that. But it's so little, it would be like putting a handful of chalk into every Olympic swimming pool full of rain. It's almost nothing.
The correct summary is this one, the third one. Now, before the audio begins, if you skim through the options, you'll see that about harmful effects of carbon dioxide undone by mixing chalk, global warming, temperature effect of carbon dioxide by spreading chalk, 10 teragrams of chalk, harmful effects of carbon dioxide. So that means the audio is going to be about something about undoing the harmful effects of carbon dioxide by mixing chalk into the environment. So it's going to be something related to that. And quite accurately, that's what the audio is about. In your notes, you should have captured all the keywords, the key information, carbon dioxide, harmful, mixing chalk, 10 teragrams, and pretty much that. That is the crux of it. And you should have captured this in your notes, in your mind. When visualizing, the speaker himself paints a very nice picture of a hose spreading chalk into the atmosphere, just like a water hose disperses water. So this one disperses chalk. So now, based upon the notes and this little picture in mind, let's look at the options. All the harmful effects of carbon dioxide can be undone by mixing chalk. So the second part of the sentence, that's correct. But all the harmful effects, the speaker says, and specifically says that not all the harmful effects, but only the temperature effect of carbon dioxide can be undone. So this again is something that we also discussed in the multiple choice questions. This is an exaggeration. So they take something that is mentioned in the audio and expand it, exaggerate it, or use it in a context that is different. So specifically, the speaker says not all the harmful effects, but here they are saying all the harmful effects can be undone. So that's why this is not a correct summary. The next, chalk is now being used by the Cambridge Fire Department. Now, this is entirely wrong. The speaker does mention Cambridge Fire Department, but he says that he took help of the department to estimate what 10 teragrams of chalk look like. No one has started using the chalk, and suddenly Cambridge Fire Department is not using it. So this is wrong. The next one, the temperature effect of CO2 can be undone by spreading chalk into the atmosphere. The amount of chalk needed is not very huge considering how large the planet is. So to both the sentences, they match with the information that we have in the notes and what the speaker has said. So this possibly is the correct summary, but we can't decide that before we also look at the final option. So several people did extensive calculations and determined that 10 teragrams of chalk a year can remove the harmful effects of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Yeah, this is quite accurate, and in fact, it's a bit more detailed than the previous. Now, the second sentence, this is a project being led by the Chicago Fire Department. But unfortunately, the second sentence is wrong. Again, they refer to Chicago Fire Department in a different context, which is not correct. So that's why we won't go with this. We will pick the third option. That is the correct summary. So takeaway, what have we learned from this question? That first of all, whatever is mentioned in the summary, that should be correct. There should not be any information that is wrong or that is not mentioned in the audio. And also, we have to select the option which contains the most correct pieces of information. So for example, if this last option was the same as the previous, but it also mentioned that several people did extensive calculations and determined this, then we would have picked it because it contains this extra information about 10 teragrams of chalk. Then this would become bigger and it would have covered more points. So we would have taken that. But because it has a wrong piece of information attached to it, that's why we are discarding it and going with the third option. Shall we go to the next question? All right, here we go.
Here's another really smart human trick. Suppose I ask you, how many penguins are there? Well, I bet I know how you'd solve that problem if you solved it. You went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You counted them, right? You named each one with a number, and the last number you said was the number of penguins. Now, this is a little trick that you're taught to use as kids. You learn a number list and you learn how to apply it. A little linguistic trick. Well, some languages don't do this because some languages don't have exact number words. They're languages that don't have a word like 7 or a word like 8. And in fact, people who speak these languages don't count, and they have trouble keeping track of exact quantities. So for example, if I ask you to match this number of penguins to the same number of ducks, you would be able to do that by counting. But folks who don't have that linguistic trick can't do that.
The correct summary is this one, the second one. So let's look at the options. The first one, human beings count by naming each item as a number. They then just look at the last name, which is supposed to be the highest number of all. That number is the count of things. This is correct, actually. She explains how when she talks about the little counting trick that we learn. So that is correct. So this possibly, this can be an option. So we'll keep an eye on it. But let's go ahead and look at the second option. Some languages have words for numbers while some others do not. People who speak languages without the number words are unable to do simple things like counting. Now, this is also correct. And in a way, this was the thing. This was the focus of the audio. So when she was speaking, this is the main thing she wanted to explain, that some languages do not have words for numbers. And the previous one, that human beings count by naming each, that was just an example she gave to make her point. So now, second option, that is our preferred option for the correct summary, but we also have to look at the remaining. Human beings count by naming each item as a number. However, to compare items such as penguins and ducks. Yep. So the second part of the sentence, if summary is irrelevant, she mentions penguin again, just as counting penguins as an example, but nothing about complexity or comparing it with simple counting. And the last one, languages which do not have counting words make it very difficult for the speakers to do simple tasks like counting. And this is correct. The speakers should learn other modern languages to overcome these problems. But the second sentence, that's not correct. She does not say that people should learn other languages or that other languages are modern, more modern, and it's necessary to learn those languages to overcome problems such as the inability to count. So that means this option, the last option, contains wrong information. That's why we don't pick it and we go ahead with the second option.